All right, it's 6:59. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order with a reminder to please silence your electronic devices. Also a reminder that this meeting is being both audio and video recorded. Mr. Laurier, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Chairman. Mr. Paul Alexander.
Here.
Dr. Shantae Jones.
Here.
Miss Ellen Slobodnik.
Here.
Mr. Michael Cummings.
Here.
Mr. Zach Graham.
Here.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cummings, would you care to lead us in a moment of silence, the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, sir. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No additions or corrections, Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Saunders. Can I get a motion and a second for approval of the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to discuss an agenda, the fiscal year 26 superintendent proposed budget presentation.
Okay, good evening, Chairman, members of the board. As you know, I presented the superintendent's proposed budget about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and so we are here tonight to review that budget, give you all an opportunity for any last discussion items or agenda items related to it, and then hopefully move to an action item for the budget. I do want to point out a few adjustments to the presentation, and then I'm going to share with you a few questions that you all submitted and the answers, so that not only does the board see those, but then the public can see them as well. I do want to highlight, I have updated our Care Solace slide here. It now reflects July through February, and you can see those numbers continue to increase. That is our 24/7, 365-day mental health care coordination services. I believe the last slide had about 50 or 43 total cases, and now we're up to 91. So just, I think that does show and reflect the need for that continued resource for our school division and our community. I also want to point out at the end of the presentation, in the last slide, our next steps. We did some adjustments to the calendar to ensure that all of the board members were able to be here for the vote for the budget. And so we're here tonight for the March 3rd school board FY26 budget adoption. The March 17th will then turn into a regular school board meeting as we will adopt the budget this evening. So just some adjustments there to the presentation. And then finally, I'd like to go through a few of the question and answers that the school board members submitted between February 10th and today. We have, as you know, Mr. Lyon had shared a Google Doc with all of you to enter in any questions that you might have regarding the budget, and then we forwarded those to staff members to provide some answers. So I'm going to quickly go through and highlight these questions. And the first few are from Ms. Slobodnik. First one was talking about pre-K, and do we have any of the budget in here adding into the pre-K? And the answer is we are keeping what we have currently been servicing in our pre-K. Ms. Calso has provided some information there about the total number of students that we service, and we will continue to look to further expand using mixed delivery partnerships and different kinds of options that are available. Just want to remind the board that pre-K is not compulsory. It is a separate funding source from our traditional budget. Our K-12 budget is one funding source, and then pre-K is funded in a different way. So that information is there for you to see. Some information about math coaches and math specialists, and Ms. Kelso shared some with you specifically some ways in which we are supporting math. I know I spoke a lot about literacy in the budget. Math is certainly a priority and something that we continue to work towards improving, and she's highlighted here the supports that we have for our students in math. The EL positions, Ms. Slobodnik would like to have a little bit more information around our process and what we do and how our scores have been over the years. This is really a great topic for our academic committee meetings, and Ms. Kelso will plan with our staff to provide that information in the academic committee and then potentially share that with the larger board. The next set of questions were submitted by Chairman Alexander, calling out the different student percentages with the state averages. And you can see here, Mr. Lyon has identified that according to VDOE fall membership data collection, the overall state percentage of economically disadvantaged students was 43, students with disabilities was 15, and students who are English language learners were 12. And you can see we're somewhat in line with economically disadvantaged, and students with disabilities are similar to us. Our English language learners is significantly higher than the state average. Some questions about our backup generators. These backup generators are only intended to provide temporary power for critical infrastructure, and we've been talking about making those adjustments. The food nutrition funds, Mr. Alexander asked, how long would we be able to basically pay for this ourselves? And our original estimate was for the 2 years outside of this year. However, we understand that there are some changes at the federal level that could change that. And so we will continue to review that each year as a possibility, understanding it's both a priority for the school board as well as the governing body. The question around skipping 2027 for networking infrastructure, Mr. Lyon has provided an answer here to balance each of the fiscal years in the CIP upon the projected transfer year-to-year fund balance. In order to make FY27 balance, we skip the year of network infrastructure. We revise the CIP annually, and so we look at what the direct needs are for each of our schools and all of our infrastructure, and so you may see that get adjusted as the years move on. And remember, the CIP has already been reviewed and approved at a previous meeting, but it still is a good conversation to have as part of the budget process. Some questions about the newly acquired buses and cameras. We include cameras compatible with our monitoring system on all of our new bus purchases. Cameras in all but 2 of the buses need to be replaced due to video monitoring system being outdated and limited in scope. The activity buses have older and different cameras and will also need to be replaced. Dr. Jones has submitted the next set of questions. A lot of these are around potential federal cuts in budgets. I've been sharing with our staffs that about 6.5% of our budget is federal funding in multiple categories. Our title funds, Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV, Title 611, Perkins falls within that, as well as our food service funds. So we receive quite a bit of funds. 6.5% of the budget revenue is from there. So right now, we don't actually have any specific indicators that any of those funds have been reduced, cut, changed. So our projected amounts for those funds, annually we just roll forward what we've used the previous year, what we've been allotted the previous year. If in fact something changes, and again, I don't have any official notification of any changes, we would have to review the budget. We would have to come back to the school board, staff would, with a recommendation for a budget amendment and work through it at that point. But at this point, we have nothing specific to say that these funds would be reduced or different than they are today. The question around, do we have an estimate for the budget for substitutes with the updated benefits? The FY26 proposed budget does include an increase in the line item for our substitutes by $200,000, and that's to accommodate all of the changes in the different benefits, the paid maternity, paternity leave, the additional days of moving to PTO. That's an estimate on our part, and we will certainly be continuing to monitor that and review that at the end of the year to see how close we were to that. The school attendance resources, how do we know that the school attendance, are they included in this budget? If so, do we know how the school attendance resources for this year impacted students' attendance? So yes, the attendance resources that were in the FY25 budget are carried forward in the FY26 budget. These resources include our software attendance package that we use, and the 3 attendance staff positions that are monitoring attendance and really having those interactions with parents one-on-one. These resources continue to have a direct impact on our student attendance rates and reducing our chronically absent student percentage, which is an indicator for our school accreditation this year, moving into the framework for next year. So our mid-year data gives us some indicators that we are reducing the chronically absent percentage. It's less than it was last year at this time, but we still have the remainder of the year to go, so those percentages will not be final until the end of the year. They are critical, and we do have them in this budget. We will have to continue to see how we resource those in the future. If the federal per pupil funding goes away, are we prepared to cover that cost? No, I mean, it would be a significant cost. So any federal funding reductions would have an impact on our budget and would require us to propose a budget amendment, adding staff to the general operating fund. At this point, some staff members are included in those federal funds, particularly Title I, some of Title III, definitely special education, which is Title 611. 6B, 611. So those are all ones that we would have to very carefully look at what needed to then be moved into the operating fund, and it would have a significant impact. As I said, we don't have any indicators right now that that anything has been reduced, but should that happen, we will be coming back to the board and making a budget amendment. And I think that is a high overview of the questions that were submitted. It's important that you all get those answers, as well as the public sees that you have been communicating with staff and asking thoughtful questions about the budget process. And with that, I think that's the end of our update.
Thank you, Dr. Saunders. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we move on to the action agenda?
I just have a comment. I just wanted to kind of put some numbers. I know you mentioned, just for the public and the board, I know you mentioned that we are over the state averages in some of those categories. So for state, is the 43% is economically disadvantaged. I went back to the graph that Mr. Lyon presented. We are 55%. We're on par with students with disabilities, but the English language learners is 12% for the state. We are 45%, which I know I kind of went to my question. We're adding those teaching positions, so that increase in the budget for those staffing is really, really important, even though our population is declining. So I just wanted to voice that again, that looking at these numbers, it just goes to show that the types of supports that we need for those students in our district.
All right. Any other comments? I have a couple. I just want to thank Dave and team, the Finance Committee, Dr. Saunders, for this has been a very, very informative process. I too was shocked by some of the numbers. I think we can't also forget, like, a lot of our kids imagine learning Algebra 1, but also learning it while trying to learn the language it's being taught in. So it's very, very difficult for our kids. So the support that the school provides for that is much appreciated. Thank you for the addition of the questions to the end of that. I know that's very helpful for everyone to see. And then we've also, just so that the public is aware, we've been having information sessions with the governing body. Dr. Saunders and team have been meeting with governing body members one-on-one, and with a couple more still going on to provide feedback and answer any questions. One of the things that has come out of it is we're looking to also provide information to the governing body on what did not make the budget, what did we leave out that we potentially would have liked to have included, if there were opportunities to do so, just so that they know what was kind of left by the wayside. That's a priority to us, but we just couldn't get it in. Other than that, if no one else has any other comments, all right, let's go ahead and move on. Thank you, Dr. Saunders.
Yes. Mhm.
Let's move on to the action agenda, the fiscal year 26 superintendent proposed budget. May I get a motion, please?
I would like to make a motion that the school board of Manassas Park City approves the superintendent's proposed FY26 budget as presented, totaling $64,874,855.
Second.
All right, motion is second, since this is a budgetary vote, we will please do a roll call vote. Mr. Laurier?
Yes, Chairman. Mr. Paul Alexander.
Yes.
Dr. Shante Jones.
Yes.
Miss Ellen Slobodnik.
Yes.
Mr. Michael Cummings.
Yes.
Mr. Zach Graham.
Yes.
The vote goes 5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to upcoming meetings. We have a regular school board meeting Monday, March 17th, 6:59 in City Hall and Board Chambers. And then the following day, we will be presenting the fiscal year 26 budget to the governing body, also in Board Chambers on the second floor. And seeing that we've covered everything else, may I get a motion and a second for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.